Yay is right. Can't get too much math. So practice test 3, problem number 7 is where we are. And we have a little equation giving us the height of the ball above the ground. So this is the height. This is the second. Okay? So here we go. Find the maximum. Okay. Now let's think about that for a minute. What shape is this equation? It's an x squared, so what shape is it? A parabola. And it has a negative in front of it, so it's opening down. And the question is asking for the maximum. And that's just like saying what? Find the vertex, yeah, axis of symmetry giving us the vertex. So here we go. X equals negative b over 2a, negative b over 2a, which reduces to, you're going to have a calculator, it reduces to 3 halves, or 1.5 if you're doing it on the calculator. So this is 1.5, comma, something. Right, just like finding the vertex, right guys? That's what we're doing here, no different. Okay, so then what do we do? Plug it in. We can use our calculator to help us if you want to or need to. And I got 38. Did you get 38? So now we have to answer the question. And I think this problem actually has 2 questions. The first one is, fix my attendance. Find the maximum height. So what is the answer to that question? Find the maximum height. $38 feet. And the next question is, when does it reach its maximum height? What is the time it reaches its maximum height? 1.5 seconds. So seconds, feet, always. So if the question is how high, you're going to look at your y, that's your feet answer. If your question is when, you're going to look at your t, your seconds answer. So 1.5 seconds, 38 feet. All right, now we just have a straight up division problem. What do we have to be super careful of? Yeah, are there any zeros? So at the x to the 4th, x cubed, I do not have a squared, x, and I'm dividing by 1. So here we go. See if you get the same answer I do. Don't just copy mine down. You do it and see if you got the same thing I did. Anybody else end up with a 1 on the end? Yeah. All right, so what's the quotient? We have a blank that says quotient. This is the quotient. That's the remainder. So this is going to be 2x to the To what? Third, yep. Minus 6x squared minus 6x plus 3. We just go right on down the line. That's my quotient. And then my remainder is 1 over x minus 1. And if you just write 1 for the remainder, I'm not going to count that wrong. Right? Be always, always, always when you use synthetic division, be on the lookout for those zeros. Always, but especially in this kind of problem. Okay. Now we gotta find all the roots. Alright, what are our PRRs? Always plus or minus, guys. Please don't forget that plus or minus.
1 and 2.
Yeah, it's just factors of 2, or we have a plus or minus. We did it twice. 2 and 1 over 1. So literally, plus or minus 2 and 1, that's it. Plus or minus 2, plus or minus 1, that's it. Remember again, if there had been a number out front, let's say it was a 3 out in front, then you would have factors of 2 over factors of 3, and that would of course be 2 and 1, but it would also be 2/3 and 1/3, because your PRRs are all of these over all of these, every combination. Okay? We didn't have 3 though, we have 1. Okay, so then we just pick one. What do you want to try? 2. Well, there you go again. So your job was to find the roots. So one of the roots is 2. When you pick a number and it goes in evenly, you divide it out and it goes in evenly, that means it's a root. So then where do we go from here? Once we have guessed one and it worked, which it did, what do we do now? X squared plus 9x plus 1. And we run into this quite a bit. What do we usually do here? Usually we factor. But this one doesn't. So if it doesn't factor, most of them do. But we keep, on every practice test, we run into one problem that doesn't factor. And what do we have to do if it doesn't factor? The quadratic formula. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Please don't just sit there and copy down what I write, because you have to be able to do this tomorrow all by yourself. So practice your quadratic formula. And there are our 3 answers. 77 does not break down. So these 2, that's 2 answers, a plus and a minus, and then the 2 that you guessed in the beginning. All right, anybody have a question about that? There are like, I don't know, 3 or 4 problems like this, it seems like. But most of the time, when you get to here, you just factor that to get your other answers. But we couldn't, so we did our quadratic formula. All right, let's look at the next problem. Anybody remember what we do with this guy? What? Do synthetic division. So what will go in the box? Negative 2. And then 1, 12, 41, and 42. And we know what's going to happen. We know we're going to get a 0 when we do that division because they tell us it's a factor. And when something is a factor, it divides in evenly. So we've got a factor, but that isn't what we're interested in. What are we interested in? X squared plus 10x plus 21. And what do we do with that?
Factor.
And this one does factor, thank goodness. So what are the other two factors? Right there they are. The factor they gave me was x plus 2. That was given. But then they said, what are the other two? Right here they are. After I divide, they're the factors that are left. Volume varies inversely as pressure. Stop right there and build your format. What is this equation going to look like if volume varies inversely as pressure? Volume varies inversely as pressure? Box equals K over box for inverse. If the pressure is 12, the volume is 5. No magic. I put 5 in for V and 12 in for P because that's what it said. Now what does that tell me? That tells me that K equals 60. Find the pressure when the volume is 16. So again, volume is 16, so 16 in for V. Find the pressure, don't know, but I know K is 60 because I already figured that out. So to solve that, I'm going to multiply by P. I'm not going to try to do this in my head. I'm multiplying by P, and then I will divide by 16. And then I can either type that in or reduce the fraction. The fraction reduces to 15/4 if you typed it in, what, 3.75? Now, there is no reason, if you're a little bit iffy on that, you can take this paper home, cover up the work we just did, and redo it on another sheet of paper. Or pull up the practice test in Notability and redo the problems you need to redo. Ideally, you'll do the whole test. You'll redo a whole test, one of them. But at least redo the problems that you feel like you might be a little iffy on. All right, now we got another one of these. Alright, it says list the PRRs again, so here we go. Factors of 8. 1, 2, 4, and 8. And again, it's just over 1. Again, so it's just 1, 2, 4, and 8. That's all I got. But again, if there had been a number out here, like a 5, then I would not only have these numbers, but I would also have 1/5, 2/5, 4/5, and 8/5, right? Every combination of every top number over every bottom number. All right, so what do you want to choose? Because that's what we do now. We just gotta pick one from our list.
2.
It always works for you guys. Let's try it again. Yep. So what am I doing? Sketching. So the fact that you picked a winner means that you can put a dot on your number line right now. So we're gonna put a dot on our x-axis, I should say, at 2. Okay, why am I putting a dot at 2? Because 2 gave me 0. 2 gave me 0. Okay, what do I do now? Take what's left, which is x squared minus 3x minus 4. And this one does factor, but of course if it doesn't, we've already talked about what we do. If it doesn't factor, we use our quadratic formula, right? So where do the other dots go, my other x-intercepts?
Positive 4, negative 1.
Positive 4, negative 1. Any repeated numbers in this problem? So no bouncing. So I'm just going to connect the dots. And there we go. Now, this was question A. List the PRRs. We did that right here. That's it. This was question C. Draw the picture. Question B says find the factors. Aren't these factors? But there's only 2 of them. There should be 3 of them. Look at your picture. What is the third factor? X minus 2. Everybody okay with that? And that is the answer to B. Those are the factors. All right, well you just sketched one that you had to do everything for. This one's already factored, so you're just going to draw a picture of it. Here we go. Where do I start? My job is to graph that. I don't have to do anything. No PRRs, no guessing, no division, just graph it.
Graph 2 and negative 1.
So I'm going to have a dot, x-intercept at negative 1, and an x-intercept at 2. Those are the only ones. X's give me dots. There's an X there and there's an X there. Okay, now what?
Count how many.
Count how many. So I've got 2 of them here and 2 of them here, so there's 4 of them.
But there's a negative.
Okay, so yeah, so 4 of them even, up,
Yeah.
but negative means it's gonna actually start down here because of the negative. And then when it gets to this dot, which came from that factor,
It bounces.
which has a squared, it's gonna bounce off and connect. That came from here, which also has a squared, so it's gonna bounce off. Somebody got Coke in here. Okay. Last problem, I think. Yep. Factor and sketch. Here we go. Now, did you notice that this problem does not say list the PRRs? That is kind of a little clue to you that you should be able to group this thing. Now, if you don't notice that, could you still do the guessing and synthetic division? Yeah, it'll probably take longer, but you absolutely can. But if I don't ask you for the PRRs, then you don't have to guess and divide. You see how this one groups? Take out an x squared. Take out a negative 4. Are you with me, guys? We spent a lot of time on this the other day. All right, what do we know about x squared minus 4?
You can also factor that.
Into x plus 2x minus 2. But wait a minute, I gotta keep my eyes open here. I already had an x plus 2. Now I've got another one. So isn't that like having a squared? So the first x plus 2 is my common factor. The second x plus 2 came out of factoring that guy. So that means I'm going to have just 2 dots again, at negative 2 and 2. It's x cubed, so it's going to start down here. That's where odds start. 3 is odd, x a third. Now that 0, that dot right there, came from this factor, which is squared. I'm going to bounce off that one and connect to that one. That one is not squared, so I'm going to just go right through. All right, we have done every problem on the test 3 times. I'm gonna hand back some papers. Take a look at these. We can go over anything. Your question about these are your quizzes. This is everything coming back here. So anything you have a question about, whether it's a quiz or a homework,
First one.
Anybody have a question about something that I turned back, a quiz or a homework? Anybody have a question? Nothing? Alright, then I'm going to slap a couple of review problems up there on the board and have you come up and do them. And then when we have about 10 minutes left in the period, I'm gonna turn back your last test, so you have a chance to look at that. All right, so let's okay, I'm gonna need some volunteers. First one, let's come up and have somebody find the vertex axis of symmetry and direction of opening. And then let's write the equation of the quadratic function. So maybe you're writing these down on a piece of paper. All right, so we got these two. Who is, and you can also do them over here. So if you, they're doing these, are you together? Or is that, are you together? Okay. But if somebody, you want to try number one over here on this board, you absolutely can. And we still need somebody to do the second one up here. problems gonna be on the test tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes, they are. If we don't know how to do them now, then we are going to have to do some serious studying. Do we have practice problems like these to do? Yes, on every practice test, right? They're in Canvas. You can print new copies, you can do them in Notability. You have plenty of practice problems. I agree with number one, by the way. I think theirs is correct. Vertex, axis of symmetry, and direction of opening. What's our formula for that? Yep, I heard it, several of you, x equals negative b over 2a, good job.
Are you supposed to write the equation or just solve it?
Okay, so step aside now, I can't quite see. Okay, let's talk about Gabby's problem. Thank you for tackling it, Gabby, go ahead and sit down. Let's talk about her problem here for a second. What do we mean by quadratic function? What does a quadratic equation look like?
The negative b, wait.
Doesn't it have a squared in it?
Yeah. Yes.
Quadratic means squared, x squared. So what's this right here? Slope. When do we do slope? Do we do slope with shapes like this?
No.
These are quadratics. When do we do slopes? When the shape is a line? So what would the question look like if we're supposed to do slope? Write the equation of the linear function, okay? This happens all the time. You see 2 points in the problem and you immediately think slope. Don't, unless the problem says line or linear. Then you're gonna do slope. This is not a slope question. This is not a line. Will there be a linear question on your test? Yeah, we practiced it. I think it was on a quiz even. But this is not it. If we know the vertex, think about that for a second. We know the vertex is negative 2, 4. Doesn't that mean that we have shifted our parabola 2 units to the right, 1 left, 2 units to the left? And if we moved it 2 units to the left, then in the equation, doesn't it look like this? And then we moved it up 4. Doesn't it look like that? Isn't that how we move 2 to the left, up 4? What's missing in that equation? There's one thing missing. The number out in front. This takes care of the vertex. Left 2, up 4. How do I find that number out in front? Plug this other one in. We start with the vertex. Okay, he's there. Now I'm going to plug that one in. So negative 2 equals something. A, whatever you want to use. Negative 1 plus 2 squared plus 4. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Squared is 1. So it looks like n is negative 6. And that is the equation of your parabola. Now, that is the test question. Remember, if it's on the practice test, it's on the test. That's a test question. You want to get it right? You have to practice it. Okay. Let's get a couple more up here and see if we have some volunteers. Okay, so I have a division problem. And then, let's do a graphing problem. All right, so here we go. Couple more up here. Let's have some volunteers. You can go with a partner or go by yourself. Need somebody to do the division problem. Thank you. Okay. First of all, God bless our volunteers. God bless kids who have the courage to come up and give it a shot. Now, does anything about number 1 bother you? What bothers them?
You forgot another
There's another 0 in there. After x squared should be a regular x. So we actually got another 0 in there before the -10. How does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you write your answer, I think all that first part was perfect. When you write your answer, it's 3x to the 4th, 3x cubed, 3x squared, but then this would be a 7x plus a 7, and then the remainder is -3, that's correct. All right, you good with that, everybody? Now, anything bothersome about this one? Let me say it again. Every x gets a dot.
The 0 on that.
There is a dot right here because of this guy. When there is a plain x, he's at the origin. But every x you see in the problem, that one, that one, that one, and that one, they all have a dot. How many x's altogether, counting the squares and all that, how many x's altogether does this problem have?
5.
5 is an odd number. It should start down here. But because of the negative, it's going to start up here. Now this is, we gotta remember to label these two guys, maybe they were and I erased them. This guy came from this factor and he squared, so we're gonna bounce there. and connect to the 0. I don't have any more squares in my problem, so there's no more bouncing. There is just connecting. And that is what that one looks like. Okay? Now, all the volunteers who did these problems knew exactly what they were doing, just made careless little mistakes. So we gotta be really careful, keep those eyes peeled. All right, I'm gonna hand back your last test. I will collect this back up, but I want you to have a chance to look at it. And some of you just keep up the great work. Don't put this away, I'm collecting it back up in a moment. Find somebody, if you have questions, find somebody with your version of the test. And ask.